Hey, how's it going, fight fans? Welcome to Mindful Combat. If you're new to the channel, my name's Rohan, and this is episode 3 of As Requested. The concept of this video is simple. Every Monday I do a video that is dedicated to your suggestions, and for your suggestion, all you got to do is comment in the comment section below, give a suggestion for a video for me to make, and I'll pick out one at random. If you have a channel and you've given a suggestion, then I'll give your channel a shout out at the end of the video. If you don't have a channel when you've given a video suggestion, well then I'll pick one of my random subscribers who does have a channel and give them a shout out at the end of the video. Simple enough, right? Anyways, for this video, the suggestion comes from one of my subscribers called Charlie Dobinson. Charlie Dobinson asked me to give a list of the fights that got me into MMA and or my top 5 favorite fights of all time. Now, that's quite hard, especially the first part, because before I ever knew what MMA was or even that MMA existed, I was already a dedicated fight fan. Basically, I'm 28 years old and I grew up in the 90s watching boxing. I watched boxing with my dad, with my brothers, and well, my one brother, my younger brother wasn't born at the time, but with my older brother I grew up watching boxing, whether that was Prince Nassim, bios on Muhammad Ali, watching Mike Tyson fights, Herbie Hyde here in the UK. I was a huge fan of Herbie Hyde back in the days, and I just grew up watching fighting, the Marco Antonio Barrera, all those guys, Eric Morales, all those guys were some of my favorite fighters of all time. So before I ever knew what MMA was, I was already a dedicated boxing fan, even as a child. And I was also a dedicated pro wrestling fan. And you might be thinking, well, what link does that have? Well, to me, if you grew up watching pro wrestling as a child when I did, like I did, then a transition into growing up and loving MMA is kind of simple. It's kind of obvious because you grow up watching the fake version of MMA essentially. So I was really into MMA from the first fight I watched. And I think the first fight I ever watched was probably Nick Diaz versus Jeremy Jackson, UFC 44 if I remember correctly, and I was about 12 years old when that happened, and I was already a fan even before I ever knew this existed. So what I've decided to do for this video is to give my top 5 favorite fights of all time. Now, my top 5 favorite fights of all time tend to be a bit different than most people's. Now, don't get me wrong, fights like Stephen Bonner versus Forrest Griffin, that was a great fight, I loved it. Shogun Rua versus Dan Henderson, it was another great fight, I loved it. Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor 2, Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor 1, all excellent, great fights that are legendary and deserve their place in the sport. There is so many great moments in each and every single one of those fights, and I will never take anything away from it. But for my personal list is a bit different, so I hope you guys enjoy. Anyways, to start off my list, I got a fight that wasn't even fight of the night on the night it happened. It was between Mark Munoz and Damian Maia. Now, this fight happened on June 11th, 2011, on a card that was headlined by JDS and Shay Carwin. It was UFC 131. The fight of the night that night was Dave Herman versus John Ola Dynamo, which was a heavyweight slugfest. It was a good fight, but to me this fight was absolutely exceptional. Now, it was really interesting coming into this fight because Mark Munoz was on his title run and Damian Maia was starting to put together some wins after his poor loss to Anderson Silva. Coming into this fight, Mark Munoz had looked like he could be a contender, and they both had a really grappling heavy style coming into this fight. Now, they come out, Damian Maia displays improved stand-up. It was his first fight after Kendall Grove, I believe, at the time, and he had 6 months off, and immediately his improvements in his stand-up were showing. I believe he rocked Mark Munoz early. Mark Munoz being Mark Munoz, you know, he survived, and they had a tough back and forth fight. It was really technical on the ground. It was beautiful. The transitions in the grappling were beautiful. On the stand-up, they both impressed me, and then at one point, Mark Munoz defended a takedown by Damian Maia and just started what he called the donkey punches to Damian Maia's thigh, and the fight was absolutely crazy. It really blew my mind. They didn't get fight of the night, and it was one of my favorite fights of all time. It was a great fight. It was really fun, back and forth. It had great technical exchanges on the ground. They showed me both improved stand-up, and it showed me some stuff I had never seen before, like the Donkey Kong punches to the thigh, whatever the hell Mark Munoz called it. But it was really fun, and it's a fight that I've gone back and watched a few times. So guys, if you ain't seen it, my number 5 fight is Mark Munoz versus Damian Maia. It's a great fight, guys. Check it out. Number 4 for me is John Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson. And this happened at UFC 165, and that was September 21st, 2013. Now, this was a great fight. Coming into the fight, John Jones was obviously mauling through everyone, as he's still doing now, and he was fighting Alexander Gustafsson, who 15-1 was on a 6-fight win streak, but hadn't led you to believe that he had any tools to beat John Jones. The only thing that everyone could say was that, you know, his size matched up well with John Jones. Coming into the fight, I was watching it with my little brother, and me and my little brother was real tired, was essentially falling asleep when it was happening, and then the fight happens. The first thing that happens, the first round comes out, Gus looks alright, he's finding his range, he's boxing well, then he takes John Jones down in the first round. Me and my little brother get up, look at each other like, oh shit. Immediately we're wide awake now. Watching the fight from start to finish, it was a nail bite, it was close, there was takedowns, there were brutal shots, strikes, head kicks, knees, spinning back elbows, great boxing, great technical displays. Alexander Gustafsson's takedown defense was absolutely spectacular. John Jones showed heart of a champion by rallying through all the tough moments he had. And it was just a dogfight, a true dogfight that was just absolutely spectacular. It was a great fight. And still to this day, people debate who won. Was it John Jones? Was it Gustafsson? Now, I won't get into none of that now, but it was a great fight. So for number 4 is the first fight between John Jones and Gustafsson. Number 2, not so great, huh? But number 1 was absolutely exceptional. For number 3, it was a fight that happened the same night as Shogun Rua versus Dan Henderson. Now, that fight was great, but in my opinion, this fight was better. It was between Eddie Alvarez and Michael Chandler. Eddie Alvarez, coming into this fight, was the reigning Bellator lightweight champion. He had been on a nice run since his loss to Shinya Aoki and had just looked absolutely world-class in his run since then, taking out the likes of, I believe he had beat, what was his name, Paddy Mike? Was it Paddy Mike? Oh, the gentleman from... Bellator, who was the 2-time featherweight champion. I can't remember his name right now, but anyways, he had been on a great run. He had been doing some great stuff, and he was fighting Michael Chandler, who had won a tournament, was a great prospect, was only 8-0. Eddie Alvarez was coming into this fight with a record of 21-2. So obviously, Mike Chandler was a great underdog coming into this fight. Now you come out, Mike Chandler, young, animal instincts, everything. The fight immediately kicked off with a bang. It was back and forth. It was bloody. It was gory. Absolutely exceptional fight. All the way, you biting down on your nails, all the way to the end, up until Mike Chandler got the submission and absolutely shocked the world by beating Eddie Alvarez by rear naked choke in round 4 after a back and forth war of a fight. It was absolutely exceptional, and just the whole dynamic of that fight, what makes this fight greater for me than Shogun versus Henderson was because A, there was a huge upset involved, B, it was the outcoming party of Michael Chandler, C, it was, it was just great, finished in a finish, and it just didn't get the respect or love that it deserved. It was an incredible fight, and even the second fight was absolutely incredible. I'm still hoping out that they have a trilogy. So for number 3 for me is Eddie Alvarez versus Mike Chandler. The first fight, number 2, was excellent as well, but the first fight for me sits at number 3. Number 2 is one of the most key fights for me in my love for mixed martial arts. It's between Nick Diaz and Takanori Gomi. Coming into the fight, Nick Diaz was 14-6 on a 3-fight win streak, had lost 3 fights in a row at UFC at some point, and he was fighting Takanori Gomi, who was widely regarded as one of, if not the best lightweight in the world. This was fought in Pride 33 on February 24th, 2007, and it was absolutely insane. Nick Diaz coming out there, showing the world how good his boxing was, his durability, his chin, going to war with one of the most respected lightweights in the world, and it was just an absolute war. And then eventually Takanori Gomi shot for the takedown, got caught in a submission that I'd never seen before. At the time I was only 16 years old, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And Nick Diaz caught Takanori Gomi with go-go plotter, and just that fight right there was just incredible. Everything about it was incredible. The finish, the lead up to it, the low expectation on Nick Diaz being my favourite fighter of all time. Even at the time, he was my favourite fighter. Not the greatest, my favourite fighter of all time. And wow, what a fight that was. And I'm telling you, I get real chirpy about this. Number 1. Now, number 1 for me is something I've debated with my friends about, and it's really interesting what my number 1 here. But it's my personal favourite fight of all time in mixed martial arts. I believe it's my greatest fight of all time, and if you haven't seen this, you really need to go and watch this. But I'm guessing anyone that watches my channel is a hardcore MMA fan, so I'm guessing you've seen this. But if you haven't, it's Melvin Manhoef versus Evangelista Cyborg. See, I'm getting really tongue-tied. Evangelista Cyborg Santos. And that was just absolutely insane. It was fought in Cage Rage 15 on the 4th of February 2016. I remember being 15 years old watching this fight, and it was just insane. The way they went out there and threw leather at each other, like they're trying to knock each other's heads clean off. Like they was trying to kill each other back and forth, knocking each other down. There's a few moments where they just stood in the middle and nodded at each other, and I got chills. I'm getting chills just thinking about it. That fight was crazy. those exchanges, the way they hit each other, all the way up until the finish. When the fight got finished, Manhoff lays on his back, Cyborg crawls on top and just starts bang, 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 like he's trying to resuscitate him, and he thinks the fight's still going on. The ref's like, no, the fight's over, you've lost. It was absolutely insane. So for my number one fight of all time is Melvin Manhoff versus Cyborg. Melvin Manhoff versus Cyborg is my favorite fight of all time that I've ever seen in mixed martial arts, and if you haven't seen it, then please go back and watch it. One of the craziest fights of all time. So guys, there you have it. That's my top five favorite fights of all time to this day, and obviously that's not to take away from all the other great fights, like I said, with Stephen Bonner and Forrest Griffin, with Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor, with Shogun Rua versus Dan Henderson, Gilbert Melendez versus Diego Sanchez. All those great fights, they're still standing. The greatness of those fights is not questioned, but these are just my top five favorite fights of all time. Anyways guys, for today's channel shout out, I'm going to give a big huge shout out to my boy TJ from the Fight Dialogue. Me and him have actually collaborated recently. We've done a fight debate on who's going to win between George Masvidal and Ben Askren, as we both disagreed. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out, even if it's after the fight. Well, it will be after the fight because I'm going to put it out on Monday. So he's such a nice, humble, respectful dude. We had such great debate. Even though we disagreed with each other, we was able to go back and forth with a mutual respect for each other, and I believe it made for a really entertaining debate, and it was great to watch for a lot of people as well. So if you haven't seen that, guys, then please go and check it out, and I hope you do enjoy that, and check out TJ's channel as well, the Fight Dialogue, which I'm going to link below in the comment section below. So guys, what's going to be my next video? Comment below with your video ideas, and next Monday it might be your videos that I'm making, and if I've missed one of your suggestions from the previous videos, like I said in my last video, that doesn't mean that the suggestions in my old videos are forgotten. If I don't find something interesting, I may go back to my older videos and see some of the comments that was left back there. Matter of fact, I definitely will, because I've been getting some great suggestions, and I want more suggestions to keep coming in. So guys, suggest some videos down below. Check out my boy's channel. Give me your top 5 fights of all time, and thank you for watching, guys. Mind for Combat.